Welcome to the Subway Conversation Chat Season 2, Episode 2. While it has certainly been a wild start for some teams so far, my name is Jamie Malloy, and I'm ready to talk some New York baseball with my co-host Joe Dalio. So without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great. How you doing, Jamie?
Good. What a torpedo of a weekend, and what a torpedo way to start the show, if you know what I'm referring to.
Right. I certainly do. And I think our audience would know what you're referring to as well. And we talked about this backstage. Not the first conversation I expected to be having about the Major League Baseball season, but stay tuned and we'll see what happens with that.
Well, yeah, but it worked, though. Like I said, it's the first thing ESPN's talked about baseball in a long time, especially when you consider the fact that this is the last year they're going to have Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN because they pulled out of the deal.
Right. You know, it's great when things get people talking about it that they don't usually. You know, the NHL Four Nations tournament all of a sudden got people talking about hockey, right? And now a torpedo incident in baseball has people that haven't been talking much about baseball these days talking about it. So, again, we'll see what happens with that.
Exactly. So, Joe, do you want to start us out with some Mets updates? Go right ahead.
All right. I'm just so pumped that we're talking Major League Baseball here. It was already an excellent first weekend here all around the league. But talking about some Mets, no real transactions or anything to talk about. I'm just going to go over some of the injuries that the Mets have and estimates as far as people coming back, at least, some of the major ones here. Now, last week they paid, or a couple of days ago, they put Paul Blackburn on the 15-day IL. Blackburn is a receiver, a pitcher. They received in a trade last year from the A's, and he could start. He could pitch long relief, starting the season in the bullpen, and again, just depth that that they may be lacking here in this case. But hopefully he can get back here soon. Now they got some bad news as far as Sean Manaea, who's on the injured list. He's still having issues throwing. He's got a strained oblique. And now they had to shut him down for a couple of weeks. He had some kind of an injection. So they're shutting him down for a couple of weeks, no throwing at all. So his ETA is basically still late April. So hopefully this doesn't put too much of a damper on that. But I guess we're going to have to see what happens. Now, some of the batters here, Jeff McNeil, has been out, and he's taken swings, they said, at 80 to 85%, and he's projected to come back mid to late April. And Francisco Alvarez, again, had the surgery on his hand there with the broken bone in there. He began catching drills a couple of days ago, and he's on target for a late April return date. So a little bit of optimism there. And when I go over some of the stats, his replacement, Luis Torrens, not doing so bad. So again, I'll go over that when we talk about how some of the Mets hitters and pitchers are doing. But that's basically, it as far as player news, happening here. No new updates as far as, some of the other players we talked about. But, no major players here, just basically Manaea, McNeil, and Alvarez are the main ones. And hopefully, again, a month from now, they'll all be back in the lineup. But what's happening in Yankee land these days?
Well, in Yankee land, we have injury reports here. Right-handed pitcher Ian Hamilton, who's been out with a viral illness. On March 29th, he started minor league rehab assignment with AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and he's expected to be activated when ready on April 3rd, so a couple days from now, this Thursday. And also, we have right-handed pitcher, the cousin of Kirk Cousins, Jake Cousins, who has a right forearm strain, dealing with that. On March 3rd, he started throwing and increased his velocity to 90 feet on March 17th. And on March 27th, he was transferred to the 60-day injured list. His expected return is sometime this April. Next, we have right-handed pitcher Clayton Beeter with a right rotator impingement syndrome. He's throwing, but no timetable has been issued for game action. His expected return next month in May. It's gonna be May. Anyway,
I'm just pumped that it's April now.
yeah. Anyway, Devin Williams goes on the paternity list, and the Yankees bring back right-hand reliever. Joe, you're going to know who this is. Adam Ottavino.
Oh, I was wondering where he was going to end up.
Yeah, true. Anyway, let's see what we got here.
Not that he's unfamiliar with the Yankees, right?
Yep, and he was just with the Mets. The New York Yankees announced earlier today that they had signed right-handed pitcher Adam Ottavino to a major league contract and added him to the active roster. Ottavino at 39 went 2 for 2 with 1 save and a 4.34 ERA in 60 relief appearances with Joe's New York Mets, the New York Mets in 2024. Over parts of 14 major league seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals 2010, Colorado Rockies 2012 to 18, Yankees 2019 to 2020, and Red Sox 2021, and New York Mets 2022 to 24. Ottavino has gone 41 of 43 with 46 saves and a 3.49 ERA. Ottavino has appeared in 496 games over the last 9 major league seasons, trailing only Andrew Chafin 500 games and Hector Neris 498 for the most appearances in the majors over that span.
Wow, that's interesting.
Among major league relievers over that same stretch from 2017 to 25, his 461 innings pitched ranks 5th, and his 570 strikeouts ranked 8th. He has made at least 60 appearances in each of the previous 7 non-shortened seasons, 2017 to 19 and 21 to 24, matching Chafin for the most such seasons over that stretch. In his first stint with the Yankees from 2019 to 20, Ottavino went 8-8 with 2 saves, a 2.76 ERA, and 113 strikeouts in 97 relief appearances. He was the first player in franchise history to wear number 0, now donned by Marcus Stroman, also a former Met.
Right.
To make room on the 40-man roster, the Yankees have transferred JT Brubaker to the 60-day injured list. Additionally, the Yankees have placed right-handed pitcher Devin Williams on the paternity list. So let's turn it back over to Joe for some more Mets highlights. Joe.
All right, I will do that. And actually, you read my mind there because, excuse me, I was wondering about Ottavino and how long he pitched with the Yankees. I thought it was longer than that. I didn't know he was only with them for a couple of years. But that's some excellent information you provided there as far as, excuse me, the number of games he's pitched and some of that info. He has definitely made positive impacts. Again, but it was time, I think, from him to move on from the Mets, and certainly hope he can, add some depth and, good pitching here to the Yankees. So let's go talk about the Mets so far this season. Now they're 2-2 before tonight's game. Last I checked, right before we went on the broadcast, they were down 4-2 against the Marlins. So they lost 2 out of 3 against the Astros and won the first game against the Marlins here. Now, it was weird. The 3 games that they played against Houston, they were outscored by the incredible margin of 6-5. Both teams a little light with the bats. Again, 6-5. That's 3 games we're talking about. So the Mets didn't even average, 2 runs a game there, and then the Astros barely did. So I guess that's good for the pitching, and I'll share some of the stats there in a second. The bats finally exploded in last night's game. And it's funny because I was watching that game and playing the Marlins. It's a team they should beat. And, going to the middle of that game, the same thing's happening. It's like, oh my goodness, they're missing opportunities. They're not getting on base. All of a sudden, a couple of big innings, they get the bases loaded and Pete Alonso hits a big grand slam. And then all of a sudden everybody's hitting the ball and, other home runs in the game. So, I think it was Nimmo that hit one. And they just went off and scored 10 runs last night against the Marlins. So that was encouraging. Again, they only got 2 about halfway through the game, last I checked here. So hopefully they can get it going back there. Let's talk about some of the hitting stats so far. And the unexpected leader is the guy I was talking about just a few minutes ago. Again, Francisco Alvarez, the catcher, on the shelf here for another month. But Luis Torrens, who was very helpful to them last year. He's the leader in OPS. Again, the on-base percentage and slugging percentage, 1235 over the first couple of games here that he played. He's got a home run, 2 RBIs, a couple of doubles. So definitely encouraging there. And if he's going to continue to hit like this, I'm sure, Mets want Alvarez back, and we all do. But he can just take his time and make sure he's right if this continues here. Another unexpected surprise here, some guy you might have heard of called Starling Marte. Now, he was kind of just the leftover. The Mets were, preferred to move on from him. But no takers, again, just due to the contract. He's getting up there in age. Some injury concerns and some inconsistency there. So the Mets were kind of forced to keep him, but they wanted to make sure they're giving him some playing time. And he's off to a great start here at 1214 OPS. He's got a home run, an RBI, and also 3 runs scored. So team leader as far as scoring runs so far. So that's definitely a little bit of an encouraging start. Now, Pete Alonso started slow, but again, hit the big grand slam last night, now has 4 RBIs as a result of that. Let's talk about a new player here you may have heard of called Juan Soto. And how is he going to start off with the Mets? So far, so good, an 1115 OPS. Now, I honestly thought that he was going to pull a Gary Carter here. What I mean by that is, of course, Gary Carter played for the Mets for several years. Now, he probably my all-time favorite Major League Baseball player. And he was that even before he came to the Mets. I remember the Mets signed him as a free agent in December of 1984. And from that point on, they got my favorite player here. And I was counting the seconds to the 1985 baseball season. And Gary Carter plays his first game. And what does he do? Walk-off home run to beat the Cardinals in that game. So in game 1 of this season here, Juan Soto is up. The Mets are down by a run. And he's got a chance to get the game-winning hit here. And he strikes out. Good at bat, but just the pitcher got the best of him. He struck out. And I know Gary Carter's situation here. I thought we were going to see deja vu with that. But still, he hit a home run the next game. And he's got a couple RBIs. Here's what I like about what he's done so far. Now, obviously, the Mets got him for power and production, but he's got 5 walks so far in the 3 games. And I like the fact that he's not afraid to take the walk. Now, he was in a situation yesterday where there were guys on base. He had a chance to get a big hit and get some runs in, but he didn't get the pitches to hit. So he took the walk and got on base. And then what happened? Alonso came up and got the big hit. So I like the fact that, again, he's not trying to do it all himself. And, you got the pressure of the big contract there. He doesn't seem to have any pressure on him. He's just going about his business doing what Juan Soto does. And he's off to a decent start so far. So got to like that. Some other pleasant surprises here. Jose Siri, a new player that they had picked up. And he's added a lot of speed and energy to the team. There was a play against the Astros where, he was on third and a player hit a bouncer to the pitcher. And so kind of hard to score on that. The pitcher stops and checks him, so Siri's not running, but then turns around and just kind of lobs the ball to first base. And all of a sudden, Siri sees that and makes it dash for home and scores a big run in that game. They ended up losing that game, but still it gave him a chance. And the energy so far seems infectious. The players seem to like him. He's good in the field. So there's a positive surprise. And they said he's going to get some, significant playing time. So hopefully that can keep up. Brandon Nimmo, slow start, but he got a home run and a couple RBIs yesterday. He got a home run tonight as well. So he's at 2 home runs now. Coming to life there. Now, Francisco Lindor, we know he's known for slow starts and got off to a 1.5 month slow start last year. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Just 1 RBI so far this season, and on base only once in 11 at bats so far. But, he missed yesterday's game where he was there, but didn't start in the game because of the birth of a child. So congrats to him. And, perhaps that's been on his mind and kind of tough to get focused on baseball, but he'll get out of it. And we know that. One area of concern on the offense. Now, we were looking forward to having Brett Beatty back on the team, and they're giving him another chance here, getting time, especially at second base because of Jeff McNeil not being there. Only 1 hit and 9 at bats so far. So hopefully, he can get it going offensively. Again, he's one of those players you would love to see succeed. And hopefully, again, he can get it going there. Let's move on to some pitching real quick here. And again, definitely good. They've only given up, they only gave up the 6 runs in the entire 3 games against the Astros. Gave up 4 yesterday, but a lot of that happened after the game was basically over. So the pitching's been very good. And, we talk about innings and how you can get any kind of decent innings from starting pitchers. That's a good thing these days. Or again, we've talked several times about how we hope it goes the other way. And a 6-inning start is subpar instead of very good. But David Peterson went 6 innings in that game yesterday against the Marlins and only gave up 2 runs. Not so much known for his strikeouts, but he had 9 last night. So excellent job there. Newcomer Griffin Canning that the Mets got from the Angels. Now, mediocre stats at best with the Angels, but sometimes a change of scenery does you good. And hopefully that's the case here. He had a solid start against the Astros. He lost, but he went 5 2/3, but only giving up 2 earned runs and 4 hits. So a very good start there. Tyler McGill, acting like Tyler McGill. He got the win again in that series against the Astros. He went 5, only gave up 3 hits and 1 run, and a .8 whip, walks and hits to innings pitched there. So solid there. Talking some relief pitchers now. A guy who didn't really do too much with the Mets last year. His name is Oscar Brazoban. And again, he struggled with the Mets last year, but so far has pitched 4 1/3 innings, only given up 2 hits, 4 strikeouts there, a .69 whip. So definitely the best of the bunch as far as relief there. Edwin Diaz, we all know him. He got 1 save in that win against the Astros. So solid there. If there's any areas of concern in the bullpen there, Danny Young had 2 innings pitched, gave up a couple of runs and 4 hits. So that's basically it there. Now, talking about what's coming up here, we got the game tonight and tomorrow afternoon against the Marlins in Miami. Then we look forward to Friday, where the Mets will play their home opener in a 3-game weekend series against the Blue Jays. And then after that, the Marlins again, as they come to Citi Field for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So definitely winnable games to start. Again, the Astros, a tough team playing at Houston. No shame losing 2 out of 3. Again, being in every game there, just couldn't get the offense together. But now with these games against the Marlins, and you got basically five games still, including tonight, 5 games with the Marlins and 3 against the Blue Jays. And 6 of those games are at home. So if we're talking there, I'm saying even let's say they lose tonight, hopefully win tomorrow, and then take 4 out of 6 in that home series against those two teams. I think that's very feasible, and that would be an excellent way to get off to this 2025 start. So far, so good for the most part for the Mets. And you're going to have some excellent news to share here. And, some great stats, I'm sure, for the Yankees, and they're off to a great start as well. So tell us some things going on in the Bronx.
So here are some New York Yankees opening day stats for our viewers. Austin Wells makes MLB history. How did he accomplish this? Well, I guess I'll start as Joe's drinking water there, but since his last name is Wells, some people I don't know what they put in their torpedo bats, but I think he's got living water in his torpedo bat with the name Wells. Anyway,
that was the perfectly timed prop, I guess, right?
Yes, it was. Anyway, they don't call them the Bronx Bombers for nothing, right, Joe?
My goodness, right? Pop it up for sure in Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Not only did Wells become the first Yankees catcher to lead off, but he also started off with a home run. We have a quote from manager Aaron Boone. I think he's going to be a guy in his career that is going to get on base, Boone said. That's my number one criteria for the leadoff spot. I think he's going to be a really good offensive player right now. Back in the glory days, the Yankees always had great leadoff hitters, especially Derek Jeter, as the late Bob Shepard would say.
I've heard of that guy.
Jeter was great, but he wasn't a catcher. Jorge Posada never led off as a catcher, as didn't Yogi, and neither did Yogi Berra. But the second-year player wanted to change history, and with that dinger, he certainly did. So, Joe, how awesome is that Wells made history by being the first catcher in franchise history to actually lead off, not just by batting, but to hit a home run, too, on opening day. Why do you think why or why not do you think that is franchise changing history?
Yeah, that's very awesome. And I know on last week's show, you had mentioned that list of classic Yankees catchers, Hall of Fame catchers that never let off. And, again, that's not too surprising, I guess, because, back then it would be very rare to see any catcher lead off, even today, right? You don't see too many catchers leading off. So that feat in itself is amazing. And then to top that off with a home run to start on opening day, that's history, all right. And on a team that has a very long and successful history. So to add to it, I think that's amazing. And I think he's definitely got a promising year and career ahead of him, especially if he keeps doing stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. Anyway, speaking of history, what exactly did Paul Skeens make history doing? The Pittsburgh Pirates star pitcher, Paul Skeens, also made baseball history during his Thursday opening day start at the Miami Marlins. The 2023 number one draft pick of the Pirates became the fastest number one overall selection to start on opening day.
Wow.
That's not all, though, Joe. Skeens put together the best rookie season by a pitcher I think we've ever seen, as the National League Rookie of the Year compiled an 11-3 record with a 1.96 ERA. Additionally, Skeens started for the NL in the All-Star game last year. Skeens, along with Jared Jones and Mitch Keller, make a deadly top-of-the-order pitching trio. But right now, Jones is on the injured list with an elbow problem. But be on the lookout for top prospect Bubba Chandler to be called up from the minors to pair up with Skeens. And I know Adam and Rich are both very, very high on Bubba Chandler, even though Adam's kind of coping with the Pirates not doing so well against the Marlins. But let me ask you something, Joe. I mean, where do these Pirates draft scouts find these flame-throwing pitchers when it seems like you already have Paul Skeens, then there's Jared Jones, then there's this guy, and then there's a guy now named Bubba Chandler? I mean, Why do you think their scouts are so good at that?
That I wish I knew the answer to that, because I would become a scout and be successful. But you got to give them a lot of credit, because they're just coming down the pipeline one by one by one. And they're all promising, and some of them we've seen already, the success that they've had in Major League Baseball. So give credit to these guys. And now if they can only do that with some guys that can hit the ball, I think you're going to have an amazing team there, certainly. And that's what happens, when you get a team like this. That's how you have to do it. Not a big market team, and they've had some down years for a while. So it takes guys like this to turn it around. Look at what the Orioles did. Look at what the Astros did 10 years ago. That's what you got to do. The Rays have been consistently bringing these solid players in like that. So, again, they're certainly not short on pitching, and that could carry this team. If they can just get some hitters in there, get like a winning atmosphere, then this team could be one to be reckoned with down the road. Not so much this year, and unfortunately they're off to that slow start. But I think you got some optimism in Pittsburgh there if these guys can get it together. And of course, the thing is staying healthy, as with pitchers. And Jones is already, on the IL. I don't know for how long. Again, we hate to say it, but a lot of times with these flamethrowers, it's just a matter of time. And again, I'm not going to be the negative Nelly here and talk about that, but you always got to have that in the back of your mind. But still, you got one right after the other coming in and developing these guys, and they know how to develop them. So again, I think that's reason for optimism, and I give them a lot of credit for that.
And so now let's move on to the Boston Red Sox making history. Oh, good.
Yeah, I know you love that one.
Why do the Red Sox also had to make opening day history too? Anyway, the Boston Red Sox came into the 2025 season optimistic that they can make the playoffs this season, or some maybe even thought compete for the AL East title. But they started up opening day strong with a win on the road over the Texas Rangers. But guess what? They also made opening day history. Yes, the focus is on Garrett Crochet and Alex Bregman's debuts, but Wilber Abreu stole the show. Trailing 2-1, Abreu hit a monster solo shot to tie the game at 2 in the top of the 5th inning. It was a game-changing moment, but not as big as this next one. With runners on the corners, first and third, and 1 out in the top of the 9th, Abreu hit the eventual game-winning 3-run home run of Luke Jackson to put the Sox up 5-2. Justin Slater closed the books in the 9th inning for the 5-2 win. So, Joe, what do you think? What do you think of the day belonging to Abreu, and why or why not is it a surprise?
It's not a surprise, and I think you're going to be hearing his name a lot more as the season goes on. I mean, he was very solid last year too. Now, I hate to say this, Jamie, but don't think the Red Sox are going away. I think they will be a contender for the season. I don't think they win the division. When we did our predictions last week, we both picked the Yankees to win the division. So I still obviously think that's going to happen, but I think the Red Sox are going to be in the mix. Now, I heard today, if we're going to talk about them, that they just signed Crochet. If I read that right, or if I saw that right, they signed him to a contract. So we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, sometimes good teams get off to slow starts, like the Red Sox, like the Braves. In fact, with the Braves, here's a stat that I heard. I don't know if I think are they 0-5 now? I think they're 0-5. And the guys on the radio today, I was listening to a sports station called VSiN, the Vegas Sports and Information Network. And they said no team in baseball history has started the season 0-6 and made the playoffs. And if the Braves lose tonight, and they're playing the Dodgers, they would be 0-6. That's a team that I think we both, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you picked him. I know I did. I picked him to go to the World Series. Now, again, anything can happen. It's a long season, and they got some guys hurt that they're going to be getting back pretty soon. But a little scary in Braves land there. So, but, as far as Abreu and the Red Sox, you're going to hear Abreu's name a lot this season. I have a feeling about that.
Mm-hmm. And also, let's see, how did the Orioles also make franchise history too? Another AL East rival, man. Man, oh man. Anyway,
they're making it difficult for you guys.
Yeah, Toronto might start too if they get it going. But anyway, Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman and center fielder Cedric Mullins made Orioles history in an opening day rout. Let's see. Baltimore beat the Toronto Blue Jays 12-2, and Rutschman and Mullins both hit 2 home runs. They're the first pair of O's with multiple home run games on opening day, and the last pair of Astros, or the last duel of teammates, or the 10th duel of teammates, all time per stat head. The most recent pair of teammates to do this prior were LA Dodgers Joe Peterson and Enrique Hernandez, hitting 2 home runs as the Dodgers defeated the Diamondbacks 12-5. Joe, what do you think of not one but 2 Yankees division rivals, and the Red Sox and the Orioles also making history on opening day?
Yeah, like I said, they're going to have their hands full all year because, again, the Orioles are going to be another excellent team here. And they're playing like one right now. Now, I picked them to slide down, and I think pitching is going to be an issue with them. But the team can certainly hit. Now, I think Tyler O'Neill, I think he's on that team. I think this was like the 4th opening day in a row that he hit a home run. So, if I got my players right and teams right, I think he hit one. I know he hit one opening day, and I think he hit it in that same game. So, again, we know, and we knew coming into the season, that the American League East is going to be one of the toughest, if not the toughest, divisions in baseball. And oh, by the way, you got a team like the Rays that everybody counted out, and they're off to a pretty good start. So there's really no easy outs in that division. Maybe the good news for the Yankees is there's not as many divisional games as there used to be now, because you're playing the entire major league, so they cut down on the amount of divisional games. But still, they're going to have their hands full, and they're going to have to keep playing at this high level if they do want to take this division.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's see. Why are the Yankees taking advantage of a legal rule loophole with new torpedo bats? The Yankees bats literally helped them hit a franchise most 9 home runs on Saturday, including 3 from Aaron Judge, who doesn't use the bat, by the way. Mm-hmm. The Yankees defeated the Brewers 20-9, while also bringing their 2-game total to 11 home runs. That's amazing.
Right.
Especially when it's coming from a team that, every year for the last century or whatever has led the league in home runs.
Right.
Additionally, it gained attention as Yes announcer Michael Kay dropped some critical piece of info. The Yankees are utilizing new torpedo bats this year that move more of the wood into the label area, making sure that the hardest part of the bat hits the ball. This makes the thicker part of the bat, or this is now closer to the middle part rather than the top barrel. According to Kay, the Yankees analytics department, which included a really, really genius guy from MIT, mm-hmm. found shortstop Anthony Volpe rarely hit the ball with the barrel of his bat. it was almost always hitting the ball in the label area. That told the Yankees, or that convinced the Yankees to have the bats made in redistributing the location of the wood. The discussion took place during a Jazz Chisholm at bat, with Chisholm using one of the newly designed bats. It's worth noting that Chisholm was one of the Yankees to homer in Saturday's game. So, Joe, where and why are the Yankees finding another way to make modern day baseball cool?
Well, I was a little concerned with this when I first heard the news. And the reason for that, nothing against the Yankees, but all we need now in Major League Baseball is, I had a concern, but then not a concern. And I'll share why on each side. We're finally getting to a point again where the balls in play have increased and it's not all about the home run. And I first heard this report and I thought, oh my God, here we go again. Now we're going to get to a point where everybody's going to be hitting home runs all over the place and we're not going to have any small ball. And I didn't like that. But then I heard a couple other things and realized a couple other things in the fact that a bunch of other teams were using these and balls weren't flying out of those stadiums. Now we do know about Yankee Stadium, right? What do you got to do to hit it out?
Pop it out to the right short field.
Right, pop it up to right field, and boom, it's gone. And that's my joke always. But it's true. It's a true joke. Now, you wouldn't expect that the last weekend of March in Yankee Stadium. That's something that happens later. However, I had a friend who was in New York City over the weekend, and he said it was unusually warm there. Now, I didn't watch that game, but he said it was almost 80 degrees. He said he was walking around Central Park in shorts, and it was almost 80 degrees. So it was like a late spring, early summer day. And we all know, again, pop it up to right field and it's gone. Now, not all these home runs were going to right field. They were going all over the stadium. But, it was, I think this was, and I hope I'm right about this. It was just the Yankees being the Yankees and a team in the Brewers that maybe aren't going to be as good as people thought. I mean, we knew they were going to take a step down, and a lot of people saying they weren't going to win the division like they had. We expected them to take a step down last year, and what they do, they won the division, and they almost beat the Mets in the first round of the playoffs. So they said the same thing this year, that the team's going to take a step down, and it looks like that's actually going to happen. And again, we're talking about these things, and I don't want to overreact as far as all the stuff we talked about so far after 5 games of a major league season. But, this is what we think. And the fact that the Brewers are not going to be as good. And obviously their pitching hadn't, not good so far. But I think this is more of a case of the Yankees just smacking the ball all over Yankee Stadium than the bats. Because other people have been using these bats, including some guy named Lindor, and he's not doing so hot so far. So I hopefully it's not something that brings baseball back, because everybody, in fact, we've already heard it. I don't know if you said this, but these bats are being ordered all over Major League Baseball, and all teams and players are trying them now. So, we'll see what happens. I just don't want this to be a home run derby again, just as we're getting back to a point where Major League Baseball is getting focusing a little bit more on small ball again. So I guess we'll find out. But as far as the bats and whatever it was, the bats, the water in the Bronx, I don't know. But the Yankees were just smacking the ball all over the place. And I think that's what we need to pay more attention to, the fact they just had an offensive explosion and are off to a great start.
And I actually think these bats are easier to play small ball with, because if you just bunt it off the label instead of fully bunting it off the barrel,
right,
you could get some solid contact on that. And then with some of how fast these guys are, boom, you're right on the first base. So
I was wondering about that.
Small ball being out yet, though, Joe.
No, okay, and that's good. And yeah, you're right. This may contribute to it. It may also contribute to more, like hard line drive doubles too. So again, it remains to be seen. I'm just hoping it doesn't change things because baseball is going in a right direction. But it is ironic again that I asked you this backstage before we started. When we thought of the Major League Baseball season last week or the last couple of months, did we ever expect we were going to have a conversation about torpedo bats?
No.
Never saw that coming.
So anyway, speaking of that, why did it only take 3 pitches for 3 Yankee home runs in the first inning? The Yankees swung for the fences as they usually do in just 3 pitches, and the Bombers were already up 3-0 like that in the first inning. And they even did it against an old friend and teammate off Brewers starter Nasty Nestor Cortez, who unfortunately wasn't so nasty in this outing. But we love you, Nestor. We still miss you. You were a class act, and you brought everything to the Yankees. So
I was wondering that. Is he missing the Yankees? Does he still have a lot of friends? Well, I'm sure he does. But, I mean, he was throwing meatballs up there, and again, they were just smacking them all over the place. You like to see a guy like that who had success with a team come back strongly against them, but that, unfortunately, for him wasn't the case.
Anyway, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt hit a leadoff 4-seam fastball to get the Yankees their second straight leadoff home run in their second game. Then Cody Bellinger, trying to do his best impression of his old man Clay, hit one to deep center field to put the Yankees up 2-0. According to the Yes broadcast, it was the first time in Yankees history that they led off the game with 3 home runs. New York, who was 1-0, led the majors in home runs this year with 237 a season ago, and it looks like they could again this season as they already had 11 in 2 games.
Wow.
And Joe, remind us again, what do you have to do to hit a home run at Yankee Stadium?
Pop it up.
Pop it up. Kind of like, what are you going to do, Tommy? Knock it down. But that's another sport. That was from NFL.
Wrong one.
Right. But we can start doing that with you and I is pop it up, though.
Right. Pop it up to right field. Good chance it's gone.
So, anyway, Yankees outfielder Aaron Judge blasts 3 home runs in 4 innings. I hate to say this, Joe, but Juan Soto, who on Saturday against the Milwaukee Brewers, Judge hit 3 home runs in his first 4 at-bats to help the Yankees have to give the Yankees a 16-4 lead after 4 innings. Judge's last 3 home run game prior to this came on September 22nd, 2023, and it's just the 3rd of his 10-year MLB career. Through 6 innings, Judge is 4 for 5 with a career high 8 RBIs. He batted in 6 runs on 4 separate occasions. Joe, why does this prove that it is still Judge's team now that Soto's on the Mets, and it was still Judge's team when Soto was on the Yankees?
Well, I like how you say it's just his 3rd time that he's just his 3rd game that he's ever hit 3, right? How many major league players have actually done that ever, right? You can't find too many major league players that have hit 3 home runs in a game once, never mind 3 times. So kudos to him. So yeah, we knew it was his team, and it's going to stay that way. So he's off to a great start, and he's letting the regular bat, no torpedoes here just yet, do the talking, and definitely leading by example here for this team. But they're certainly following in his footsteps, and again, just powering the ball everywhere.
And so, Joe, this is another interesting story. Speaking of the torpedo bat, why is Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy, who's a Red Sox fan and even a fan of the Patriots dynasty, who won all those Super Bowls, and we had to just take our L's when they all won theirs, right? Well, he's complaining about the Yankees using torpedo bats with Jazz Chisholm, and he thinks they should be banned.
Yeah, of course. One, because it's the rival team. You know, they wouldn't be saying that if the Marlins were hitting. Well, actually, maybe they would, because the Marlins aren't known for their hitting. So if a team like the Marlins was hitting home runs like crazy, then maybe people would speak up.
Mhm.
But of course, the Yankees doing it, or a big name team like the Dodgers or somebody doing it like that, of course, that's going to attract national attention, and everybody's going to want it banned.
Mhm.
So I can see him saying that, and I understand.
Mhm.
It's just like, I'm sure Giants and Cowboys fans don't exactly appreciate the tush push in football, right? Because
Yeah.
it's the division rival that's doing it. I'm sure they're the first ones that are going to line up to get this thing banned. Or, you know, the Dolphins or the Jets, because the Bills do it so well. So it's the same situation here. It's the division rival. It's the hated other team that's, you know, that has a monster explosion in a game here, scoring 20 runs with these bats. Of course people are going to say stuff about that. So again, I just hope it doesn't change the game. I doubt it will. That's when I think we need to start talking about banning them. Don't do that yet, because there's no proof that this is going to give anybody an unfair advantage. And like you said too before, there's nothing illegal about them. So
Mhm.
it's not like they're trying to pull stuff and get an unfair advantage here. So
Well, no, in fact, because Louisville Slugger pulled its sponsorship from being the official bat of the MLB, and now it's like Vermo and whatever it's called, and they're the ones who supply it. And like I said, if your analytics department doesn't, it isn't illegal, but maybe it changes the game in a good way. Who knows?
yeah, and that's all remaining to be seen. And
Mhm.
again, it's funny that we're talking about torpedo bats when a week ago nobody ever heard of what a torpedo bat was. You
Mhm.
could only use your imagination, right? If we had this show a week ago and somebody chimed in and said, hey, the first week of the season is we're going to be talking about torpedo bats, I'm going to be like, what are you smoking? What is a torpedo bat? And maybe 2030, maybe 2040, but not
Mhm.
2025, a season that's just upon us here. So I
Mhm.
do kind of find it funny, but let's not take away from the baseball that's being played here in the first month of the season, to focus only on a certain type of bat. That would
Mhm.
be my only concern about that. Is there's so many other things going on in baseball to start the season, and you know, let's focus on what's happening on the field besides that too.
Mhm. Anyway, as they used to say in the Wendy's commercials back in 1985, where's the beef? Yankees first baseman Jazz Chisholm Jr. fires back at Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports for saying the MLB should punish the Yankees by banning the torpedo bat. These bats first gained viral attention when the Yankees hitters, or when five of the Yankees hitters had been using them, according to Yes Network announcer Michael Kay. The bats are noted as having additional wood transitioned or transformed into label spots on the bat. Nevertheless, Chisholm set the record straight on X and refueled the claims. And we have a quote from him. Okay, explanation, the barrel is bigger within MLB regulation, he said. For the idiots that say it's moved to the label, you're an idiot. Nobody is trying to get jammed. You just move the wood from the parts and you use the parts. And if you don't use the parts, you do. You're welcome. No more stress for y'all. Joe, why is Dave Portnoy being salty at Jazz when one, they they bought the analytics department, made these bets illegally, and guess what? Portnoy, much to the dismay of the rest of Bills fans and the rest of the NFL, cheered for the Patriots dynasty. And us Bills fans on here, we had to sit there and take that, and not question anything, right?
Right. Yeah. And again, it's because of it's the hated rival that's succeeding with it. That's all. Now it's funny with you know, Jazz Chisholm. I heard him. I don't know when this was and when this Twitter response was, But he was kind of laughing at the whole thing right after the game on Saturday. I heard an interview with him, and he was just kind of joking. They were asking him about it, and he says, I'm not going to lie, but I like these bats. And he was just kind of in a very, fun, like kind of almost joking about it kind of mood. So I guess maybe he got overwhelmed by all the questions and everybody coming at him, and finally probably just had enough and made a comment like this. But again, guys like this, like Aaron Judge, well, again, Judge didn't even use it, but somebody like Chisholm and these guys that are hitting the home runs with it, they're going to hit home runs anyway. Again, it's not like you have guys that hit 5 home runs a year that are now all of a sudden going to hit 30. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, then of course you got to look at this and maybe we're not supposed to have it. But these guys are going to be hitting home runs anyway, and they're going to be one of the best offensive teams in the league anyway. So again, I don't think adding a different kind of a bat is going to change that much, if at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I was gonna add to is they're gonna give these bats to like the low propensity batting average hitters, the ones that want to get their batting averages up. That's who they're gonna give them to.
Right, and we'll see if that happens. I'm not so sure it changes much, because if you're struggling as a major league hitter, I think you're going to continue to struggle as a major league hitter. And if you're excelling as a major league hitter, then no matter what, some of these guys could have a toothpick in their hand and they're still going to hit 30 home runs. I mean, it's just the talent level that matters, I think. And hopefully it stays that way. And hopefully, we see, even with these bats, that it doesn't have that kind of a negative effect.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Joe, guess what? It's now that time in our show for a question of the week segment. Would you like to give it a try?
Yes, it's called Redemption because I missed last week's.
Okay, anyway, Joe, here is your question for episode 2. Can you guess this MLB player? He had the most hits in one MLB season. Is it Tony Gwynn, Ichiro Suzuki, the late Pete Rose, or Wade Boggs?
Oh, my goodness. You're talking 4 of the best hitters ever in Major League Baseball. And it could be any of them. It's funny because before you even said the names, Tony Gwynn came to mind. And I was just going to say, oh, go with that. But then you mentioned 3 other people that it could easily be. Again, because I don't know for sure, and because I'm going to go, I usually go with my gut here. And the first person that came to mind, even before you said anything, was Tony Gwynn. I'm going to make Tony Gwynn my guess.
Nope, it was Ichiro Suzuki with 262 hits in 2004.
Okay. Again, you could have told me any of those guys and I wouldn't have been surprised. So Excellent question.
Well, it is now, looks like we come to the end of our show. So Joe, this isn't really an April Fool's joke, but where can we find you in social media on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025? Yes, it is April Fool's Day, but it's not April Fool's that it's April 1st.
No, that's right. And it's no April Fool's that you can find me on Joe Dal Sports. Now, it would be April Fool's if I said I had thousands of followers there, but I'd like to get there. So anybody watching this, feel free to please follow me there, Joe Dal Sports. Not only Mets Yankees stuff, but every sport. I put my 2 cents in worth there, and feel free to follow me and get those numbers up for me there.
Mm-hmm. And you can find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, theforkball.com, and stadiumrant.com, where I write about all sports. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications. For more content like this show, the Subway Conversation Chat on Driving to the Top, and also our open mic night and other shows on this platform, please visit our YouTube page, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, X stream, where you consume your podcasts. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to you tuning back in with us next Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. on the Subway Conversation Chat. And also, before we go, get your New York sports here with Jamie and Joe. Have a good night.
Have a good week.
All right, good job, Joe.